let me make sure you guys can all see it. I'm going to go to her home page. Hey Donna, hey Diane, hey Lisa, hey Nancy. So you can see the Wendy's page. Let's see. And this was an illustration that Wendy did for her portfolio, and she also did it as a teaching demonstration in the Adobe Illustrator class that she taught several of us back last February. And I just think it's just such a cute, adorable painting. And those who finished the class, who turned in all their homework assignments, and Wendy checked off on them, and they completed, in that class, we did a promotional postcard, or the students did. I never got a chance to finish mine, so I'm still working on mine. And I did not get a raccoon badge of honor, but the students that finished got a really cool little badge seal with one of these little raccoon faces, and it talks about how they completed the vector course for children's book illustrators, and it's something they can put on their website and their blog and their portfolio and business cards and everything else. And we're starting a special sale on Wendy's Adobe Illustrator class tomorrow, the video version of the course, and it's a Valentine's Day sale, and it's 33% off for anybody who wants to take that who hasn't, and I'll send the link out to you guys later. Wendy, can you talk for a second a little bit about how your background as a commercial artist, doing all kinds of graphic art? You were a graphic design BFA in graphic design.
When I graduated from high school, I went into fashion design, and I got a degree from the Fashion Institute of Technology, and I started working in the fashion industry. And about 2 or 3 years in, I started advertising my hand-painted clothing, and I discovered that I really liked putting together words and pictures, and I decided to go back to school for graphic design at the School of Visual Arts, and I graduated there in 1988 with a degree in graphic design, and I worked in the field of graphic design, mostly doing business-to-business collateral, and for companies like Kraft and GE and Black & Decker and Praxair. I don't know if you know Praxair. They're a gas and chemical company.
No.
So also Dual Light, who does exit signs. And about 1993, my daughter was born, and I started to really get into children's books because, well, I had a kid and I was able to legitimately buy all of these new children's books. And while I had been a graphic designer, I also was painting watercolor fine art and doing the gallery circuit, and I managed to get enough recognition that I became a signature member of the Connecticut Watercolor Society. In 1996 or 7, I believe, I met my current husband, and I got married and moved to Missouri in 2000. And at that point, I went from being a single mom to a two-parent household, and I was able to pursue my love of children's books. My first children's book was published in 2005, and I've had 6 other books published since then. And I'm currently working on a picture book for Pinata Books, which is part of the University of Texas. And that book will come out in 2016, and that's currently what I'm working on. I'm just doing the illustrations for that book. Someone else wrote it.
And that's under Arte Publico Press, which is a very prestigious press. It wins lots of children's book awards. Their children's division, which is Pinata Press, is very well regarded in the multicultural, the cultural diversity, education circles. Do you when you're so is that an Adobe Illustrator type project or mixed media, or how are you doing it?
Most of my most of the books I've illustrated have been for the trade, so they're in watercolor. A lot of my Illustrator work is done for educational publishers, and I use Illustrator like what's on the screen because it's just faster.
And you said in the hangout we did a year ago that a lot of educational publishers prefer vector art.
Yeah, they like to be able to take pieces apart and use them for other purposes. A lot of times you'll get an educational job, and you'll have what, 4 to 6 weeks to illustrate the entire book. So speed is of the essence.
Wow.
Yeah, so the art has to be simplified. It has to be fast, and it has to be to specs, because a lot of times the educational publishers have in mind what they want already.
Yeah. Now, when you said the trade books, the big children's books, the Caldecott books, the picture books, the bookstore books, and school library books, those are very often watercolor is one of the
in my case they are.
Okay.
It's getting to be at a point where you can illustrate in any media, and there isn't a stigma whether you're doing it traditionally or digitally. And because of the digital software has gotten so good that it's kind of hard to tell a difference at this point.
Wow, and you have always liked to mix your media if you can, when it's appropriate. Anyway, don't you? You'll bring in pieces that you've done in watercolor and
I
Photoshop.
use both traditional and digital media to complete my art. So I can't do just traditional or just digital at this point. So I will start with pencil and paper, usually just copy paper, and I'll sketch out my ideas, and then I'll scan that in, and I'll manipulate it and change things and print it out again and sketch it again, and that can go on for several different times. And finally, when I'm satisfied with the sketch, it gets scanned in and dropped into Illustrator, at which point I ink it.
Okay.
Which is basically the line art.
Okay, yeah.
And at this point, if I'm going to be going digitally, I start adding color at the same time I'm doing the line art. If I'm going to be doing just watercolor, I just do straight line art, and it prints out on 140-pound watercolor paper, and I have a handy dandy printer where I can print oversized on watercolor paper, and I love it. It's a Canon Pro 9000 Mark II Pixma.
Pro 9000 Mark II Pixma?
Pixma, yeah. I don't know if they actually make it anymore. It's definitely a workhorse.
Does it have big dimensions then, so you can put a bigger?
I can fit up to 14 inches wide. It's called a large format as opposed to a giant format.
Okay.
So up to 14 inches wide, and as long as I want. So I try and keep it in proportion to 11/17 spreads.
Okay, great. And Wendy is also the author of How to Illustrate a Picture Book Dummy in 9 Easy Steps and Submit It. And it's a book you can order from her online, and it's on her website. But I just want to draw your attention to her website. To me, this is an example of what an illustrator's website can be if you do everything right. And I really do feel like she does everything right. She starts off. Let's see. Her homepage is just general. She gets right into it. She shows her work on the page. She has thumbnails that enlarge into big pictures, and right here you can see emphasis on reading, education. She talks about her school programs, which is a real big part of where author and illustrator's income comes from during the year. Her various program and presentation rates. A little section for teachers, funding and grants. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Oh, she's just sharing.
Yeah, if schools want to get money to have visiting teachers or illustrators, there are grants available.
Oh my God, so it's a wonderful service for the teachers, for the educators. And then she provides resources for illustrators. Oh, she also has coloring pages. Look at this, an article on how to hire an illustrator, frequently asked questions on picture book publication. There's her book. Why to not ask for a free book from an author friend, or if you've got a class. And she just kind of gives people the lay of the land, and she also provides that kind of resource for educators as well. For a long time on her blog, she was doing it. Well, she still is. Illustrator interviews. So illustrators were reading. I have been reading her blog, and because she introduces all kinds of wonderful illustrators and has guest posts, and so she's got something for everyone on this blog. She gives, and then there's her prints for sale. She's just in business, and then contact me. Yeah, art prints. Okay, yeah, and she likes fantasy art and children's book art, picture book art, and the other nice thing about Wendy is if you need a mentor out there, if you've got questions about how to put a picture book together, how to get your portfolio ready for publication, she's available for short consults and long consults, as short as 15 minutes, and if you can just get in touch with Wendy and ask her about how that all works. If you need some hand-holding or some specific help, or if you just want a really good critique of a piece you're working on for a portfolio or your entire portfolio, just get in touch with Wendy. She's just a wonderful resource for all of that. She was also the co-founder of the Kids Lit Art blog.
Kid Lit Art chat.
Kid Lit Art Twitter chat, and they had an accompanying blog. It's still up. It's, as far as I know, it's still going, and
I'm no longer co-hosting it. It's been taken over by 3 wonderful artists: Deandra May, Renee, I can't remember her last name, and Russ Cox are now doing the co-hosting.
Yeah, but you and Bonnie did it for a couple, the pioneer.
We did it for almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's just a little bit about Wendy. That's who we're talking to tonight. She's been in the business her whole life. She's does beautiful work. I can't say enough great things about her. And now we're going to go back to her, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing, and we're going to look at. Let me just check the page, Wendy, and see if there are questions. Hey, Nancy. So Donna was asking Wendy. She missed the Canon printer number of your printer, your Pixma printer. Is it 9000?
Pro 9000. Pro 9000 Mark II.
The Pro was it the Pro Pearl 9000?
No, Pro 9000.
You're saying
PRO.
Pro 9000 Mark II Pixma, if they still make it. Pixma. Pixma.
Yeah. And it's by Canon.
Okay, by Canon. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, let's go back to, and now we're going to look at your work. And so I'm going to stop screen sharing. I did stop screen sharing. I'm going to go put it back on Wendy. Wendy, I'm going to let you take it from here, and we'll go into the folder. I'll monitor the comments. If you want to ask them questions as you're going along, we can sure do that. Dialogue with them. We're going to go till about 9:15 tonight, and if Wendy wants to go, if it's up to Wendy whether she wants to go 5 or 10 minutes longer. But the understanding.
Is Iwan around?
Is Ewan around? I don't think Ewan is. He's going to probably watch the broadcast. I mean the replay, but he uploaded it to hear from you, so I can try to answer questions for you on his behalf.
Okay, according to his notes, he's doing a counting book, and he's got a really cute style going on. It kind of reminds me of some of the Nickelodeon cartoons from about a decade ago. But I have concerns that his style is too difficult for the age group he's pointing at. If you're doing a counting book, it's usually 2 to 3 year olds. That's your audience. And I think this art might be too sophisticated for them. I suggest that he goes out and gets a bunch of board books which are aimed at that particular audience and see the style of art that's common for that age group.
When you say word books?
Board books. Counting books for the little kids.
Oh, like board books is what?
Yes.
Okay, board books, really baby books and toddler books.
Baby books and toddler books.
Even ahead of preschool, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because a counting book is for the 2 to 3 year olds. So you're going to want something that is bright colors and simple shapes. And while this style is quite charming, I don't think that it's correct for the age group that the book is aimed at.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that you want to show a creature with no legs if it's the same creature that has a lot of legs. I think it might be confusing for the age group unless he has a different creature for each of the numbers. And that's just my opinion.
Okay.
But from my knowledge of the market, that age group is really very simplified in what they're expecting.
I don't see him on the chat screen, so
yeah.
even if you're there, say hello. But otherwise, we know you'll catch this recording. But if you're out there, give us a holler. Let us know.
Okay, whose is this and what's going on?
Okay, this is Diane's, and this is a sketch. I think she's doing a something from the Three Little Pigs per the assignment. The house is about to be blown up, it looks like.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a bouncy house, and it's kind of a fair or something.
It looks like one of those inflatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's very cute, but she has her the layout of the image. She has three little areas. There's one here, there's a clump here, there's a clump here, and there's a clump here. And it kind of separates the flow of the eye around the page. I would want to see these pigs in the lower left-hand corner. I'd want to see them bigger so that they overlap with the bouncy house. So you would get more dimension and depth into the image. And I would group the group on the lower right closer together so that they look like they're more together. You've got a separation going on. And I would move the bouncy house so that there's more of a circular motion. You see how my mouse is going around?
Yeah.
More of a circular motion the eye can follow.
Okay.
So I'd like to see this pulled out into a more complete piece because it looks like it's a very cute concept.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the guys and dolls attire on the big bad wolf over there. Diane, do you have any questions for for since we've got Wendy here, have you got a question for her that you want to ask? If you do, go ahead and type it in. We'll try, and if we got time, we'll get Wendy to address that. So I know.
Should I just go on, Mark?
Yeah, just go on. Good. And they've got a little bit of a lag behind us, the broadcast time.
Okay, somebody is rewriting the Three Little Pigs story.
Yeah.
Okay,
Helena?
so Helena. Okay, Helena, you've got a lot going on here. I like your color palette. It's very cheery, but you have a lot of static imagery at the moment. The wolf is kind of vertical, and it kind of stymies the idea that he's huffing and puffing. I would bend him further so that he's more off balance, and maybe put one leg behind him so that he's like balancing on his hind legs and leaning over and off balance. And at this point, you cut your image in half with this sidewalk. It's going right down the center of your image, and that's separating the wolf from the pig in a way that is not conducive to the eyes flow around. Right now, if you try to work more with the sizes of the imagery here. I mean, your pig and your wolf and your house are almost all exactly the same size. So it's stopping the image from having depth. And if you squint at it, most of what you see is the tree's leaves. And that's not really what's important in this particular image. So I would suggest that you base your layout on a triangular kind of thing, a triangular flow. So you would want to make your pig, if your pig is running away or upset that the house is being blown down, you want to bring your pig a lot more forward, and you'll have to decide whether it's the pig that's most important, or the wolf that's most important, or the house that's most important. Because right now everything has equal importance.
Okay.
So you can do this in two ways. You could do this via the size of the images, make the pig big and the wolf smaller and the house smaller, or you can make the pig closer to the house and the wolf the biggest thing, or you can do it by graying back the background. And I would take the house apart, and this is the house that's the brick house, or is this the house that's the wood house?
They look like bricks.
Not really clear.
It's not. Some of them look like boards, don't they? Okay. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's not clear if it's the stick house or it's the brick house. Yeah. In the story, I remember the brick house could withstand the wolf huffing and puffing. So I'm guessing that it's the stick house. Make it look more like sticks blowing in the wind. If you have to, go out and get some straw and throw it up in the air with a fan and see how it acts. And take the roof apart, take the walls apart, make the wind coming out of the wolf's mouth blow everything across the page and off the page. Really get that action going. Is she here? Does she have any questions?
Let me check once more. I didn't see her earlier. Helena, if you're there, do you want to ask Wendy a question? Is that clear? Do you understand what she's saying? Does it make sense? Let me pull up that page, and I'm not seeing her yet. Also, guys, if the screen seems to freeze or something, just refresh your page. And
Okay, she's not here. I'll move on.
yeah, keep going. She's not responding yet. We'll come back and follow up later.
Okay.
Lisa's here. So Lisa, if you've got questions for Wendy, you can start
Okay, I'm
typing right now.
assuming from your little blurb that these two eggs are your firefly, dragonfly, and a butterfly. It's not really clear what those are. I don't know what age group you're aiming at, but it looks like it's probably 4 to 6 year olds based on the kind of art. From this image alone, I would say that the story was about the ladybug. I love your style. The style is very charming. I think you need to work on your concept a little bit more so that when you open the page or you open the app, you understand immediately that this story is about those two eggs. Because right now your eye is drawn toward that ladybug. And since the ladybug wasn't in your brief, I'm assuming that the ladybug is not in the story, and you want the eggs to take prominence. But this is a very charming piece. Do you have any questions?
Lisa, let me check the page. No, we just have a comment from Lisa on the previous piece saying the piggy face is very expressive. If you have a thought or a question or something's not quite clear, Lisa, just type it in. We'll try to get to it tonight, or Wendy will address your comment right there in the comment section later.
Okay, these next four.
But our other Lisa, yeah, she's a story she's been working on.
And we've got a character well developed. That's very nice character. I would be careful of making sure that the face is consistent. This face is very long, and this one is a lot more round. Also, you're missing the white spots, and the eyes look different. So,
okay.
You need to make sure that your character remains consistent from page to page. And believe me, I understand that is the hardest part of a children's book illustrator's job. Is getting
RX for that? Well, how do you cope with that?
You need to take all of your images and put them up on a wall and look at them and say, okay, I need to fix this part. I need to fix that part. You can't just look at one image and then go on to the next. You need to see everything all at once. My other comment is you have a lot of empty space going on in these images. And you can do a lot with that empty space to increase your story. Oops, too far. The story is about the cat, and right now in this picture right here, the thing with the most prominence, the most importance, is that I guess it's a shed or a box or something. And I would watch your language. Remember the age group that you're aiming at. I'm not sure that they have the life experience to know what on watch duty means. And there isn't a lot of help in the picture to help them figure out what the word means. So, make the box less prominent and the cat more important, and try and change your text so that it's more understandable for the age group.
Lisa's saying it's the box is a compost bin.
Okay, you can't tell.
Yeah.
If you can't tell and you have to explain it, it's not working. Because you're not going to be there to explain it when the person is reading the book.
Is the type on the page, is it, if she were laying out her own book, is it too small? Is the text block big enough? Do you have any
I
thoughts?
generally say it should be no smaller than 14 to 16 points. And the younger the age group, the bigger the type.
What about the space that it's taking up on the page in terms of a text block? Should it be a bigger block, a bigger space, or is it okay?
It doesn't matter. That's not as important.
Okay.
In this page, you have, again, a lot of blank space that could be working for your story. And you say, my friends are counting on me to eliminate certain unsavory types. You have a whole bunch of words in there that are probably way beyond your age group's comprehension. So I'm not saying to dumb it down, but to choose words that are more common for the age group. You can throw in occasional words that are big, but having one on top of another is too much for the group that you're targeting.
Picture books being for ages 2 to 6,
To 6.
with 8 at the very high. It used to be at the very high end, but now the 8-year-olds are all moving up.
8-year-olds are reading chapter books.
Chapter books, yeah.
Yeah. In schools, they're having children as young as 5 reading books on their own. So you want to make sure that your vocabulary is understandable for ages 3 to 5. And there are a bunch of different places online where you can go and check what vocabulary words certain ages know. I don't know what those places are. It's more of a teacher thing than an artist thing. But as far as your story here, once again, you have what's not your point of your focus is small as opposed to what's large. Your text is talking about the mouse and the scraps and everything, and that they're very small and very gray, and you're losing a lot of your storytelling. But you should have more than one mouse. And you're talking about types, so have a mouse, have a squirrel, have some pigeons. Really fill up that space with the creatures that the cat's supposed to be watching out for, and make that pile of waste not just in the middle here and a bit there and a bit there, but design it. And if this is a community garden, I'd want to see some plants. You have all of these planters, but no plants. Put some greenery around this corner here to frame the picture. And keep in mind that you want this to flow. And right now it's like it's not flowing. And you want to keep in mind that you want your flow to increase the page turn. So I would go in an S shape from the top of the page down to the bottom of the page with your images and make it follow an S curve. And that way you'll still have room for your text, but you'll also increase the interest.
Good tip. And Lisa says that the images are still works in progress, so there's still time for her to think about some of this stuff.
Okay, this one is great. I would definitely gray back that fence. It's interfering with your copy. And it also looks like the cat's right up against it. And you can do that by making the cat darker and the fence lighter. I would watch your anatomy. You're kind of losing the shape of the cat with this leg and arm right here. It's falling apart. The cat has a little bit more of a neck, and you want to differentiate the chest from the leg. So get yourself some reference imagery. If you don't have a cat handy, go on Google and Google jumping cats. But this is a great image. And this is fun too. But once again, you're in the garden, I'd want to see garden stuff. And if you're in a garden, what is the cheese? I don't understand how that has to do with a community garden. You want to keep things logical. But other than that, this is a great image. It's quite fun.
What are you liking about it? The biggest dominant size, the dominant shape, or
I like the interaction between the two creatures. I would have the cat looking at the mouse more, turn his head maybe 3/4 a little bit more, and I'd watch this hump up here. And cats have tails. I would want to see that tail coming up and curling around the type or something, just to add a little bit more story. And if you have pigeons and squirrels and all kinds of other animals in there, it will make it a lot more interesting. But your technique is great, and your color palette is doing wonders, and you just need to watch a little bit your design work at this point.
Okay.
Any other questions before I move?
Lisa, if you have some questions for Wendy, go ahead and type them in, and we'll go on to the next one in the interest of time. It's a tortoise-shelled haired cat, Wendy. We've all been learning about this particular breed of cat.
Well, it doesn't matter what the coloring is. You need to get the anatomy under the fur correct. So, I mean, that's
sure.
very important.
Oh, yeah. We weren't making an excuse for ourselves. We were just
okay, so
let's see. Go. Yeah. Nancy, I think, is here.
So you have a sketch. I think your sketch worked better than your final. And you thought that the bigger wolf was too scary, but I think that the bigger wolf is scarier and makes more of a statement. But once again, the same thing that I said with the stick house. You have your straw house here. Have that straw flying all over the place. Have the door flying off. And I would have the pig running toward us with his hands out, not hiding behind the tree, because that tree is breaking your image. You have a big block right there, and it's stopping your image flow. You don't need that tree. But yeah, this is a great concept sketch, but I would work harder on this idea.
Good, Margaret. Or if you've got a question for Wendy, just type it in. I don't know if you're here or not.
Okay, I'm gonna move on.
So, okay, yeah.
This story about raccoons, and she got other comments. I'm not sure what the story is. I'm not sure what the age group is. I'm not sure which one was the first one and which one was the second one. I'm guessing this one was the second one because it has the chimney in it.
Yeah, I think she's trying to see which composition is going to work best. I think she's just working things out at this stage. We looked at.
Okay, I would suggest that you're not ready for color yet. I think you need to go and get yourself a big Sharpie and go down to thumbnails and work out your composition first. And keep in mind that you want something to have prominence in your image, and right now these trees are what has prominence.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think if this is about two raccoons, you want those two raccoons to have prominence, because right now your raccoon is disappearing, and whatever the story is, it's not coming across.
These are redos from last time, and so I'll just say Nancy, that these are big improvements over the last sketch. But I think Wendy's point is well made. Let's see thumbnails in pencil or inks.
You have an obvious grasp for the watercolor
Right.
and the technique, but you need to work on your design and your layout before you get to color. You know, get your story straight, get your point of view and your focus worked out before you try and do color. Because right now, this story is not about the raccoon, it's about this chimney and those trees.
Mm.
Okay, and this is
Olga's, and Olga is in Luxembourg, and she's probably not here tonight, but she wanted to get them in, and she is working on a story about a wilderness school like they have in Europe, where the focus is on the outdoors and making the kids real. I think this is the same story. Well,
this is
no,
about a story about a boy who wants to be a big boy.
Yeah, this is a different story. Okay, sorry, Olga.
Okay, yeah. Paul is 3 years old, so he's doing 3-year-old things. These are obviously sketches. This is not final work. Mm-hmm. But once again, I figure this is the gutter here, but you're breaking your flow with this door. You're killing the flow of the story with this door. You want to consider the entire spread when you're designing your picture book, even though you have little spots here and there. This is going to be seen all at once, so you want it to work all at once. And this door here is blocking your flow. So once again, go back to thumbnails and work out your layout and your design before you start going into color. And good job in keeping the character consistent. I would watch the nose here. It's getting a little big. And also he looks like he's getting a little bit heavier in the upper body here than in the other images. But good job with the character here. Once again, I understand that these are vignettes and there's a lot of white space on this page, but if this is not a vignette, you're going to want to make this look more like a 3-year-old's playing in that room. There's a lot of white space there. It could be filled with toys or tossed aside clothes or something, and get rid of that door. It's blocking the flow. I mean, it's hard enough that you have to cross the gutter, but don't stop yourself from flowing across.
Good. I'll make sure Olga's not here with a question. Okay. No, she's not talking to us yet, so we'll keep going. Okay. Patricia is here.
Is there a story behind this?
Yeah, Patricia is working with a publisher and on a story about elves at a home school out in the country, and it's been cute. We've been watching it develop. She wants to work in these color pencils in this particular color palette, and it's just a little story about. And I think it's Patricia, correct me. It's kind of a little chapter book, isn't it? So, and it's not her story. She's illustrating for someone else.
All right. There's a clump here. There's a clump there. There's a clump there. There's a clump there. It's confusing to look at. This is a chapter book.
Patricia, would you set the record straight on what kind of book it is? I don't want to be telling wrong stuff with my faulty memory. I'm refreshing the page to see. I don't know. We'll have to wait to hear from her on that.
Okay, I'm not sure what the story is. I can't really comment it except that everything looks like it has the same importance.
Now, and when you say clump here, clump there, are you talking about a value thing? Is it a question that they're just the darkest, most contrasty value in the place?
No, it's just that she's got, oh, the 2 pumpkins are here as a grouping, the 3 pumpkins are here as a grouping. These, I guess it's 4 pumpkins in the elf are a grouping, and then there's this 1 pumpkin here that's a grouping. It's not designed. I mean,
Okay.
it's like it's starting to look like an S shape, but it isn't consistent. Nothing has prominence. Nothing is the focal point because everything has the same importance in the image. I mean, if you turn this into grayscale, you'll see that there isn't a lot of contrast. It makes it hard to look at. I'm not sure what the age group is.
She says it is a chapter book.
Okay, you need to age up a little bit. Chapter book, you're working with 6 to 9-year-olds. They're going to want something that's a little bit more sophisticated than you would see in a picture book. I love your little fireflies, but they're just look like they're just thrown in there because you had blank space. I suggest you go back to the thumbnail stage with a big Sharpie marker and do a silhouette of what you want going on. Mm-hmm. So you're getting sucked in with the details right now and losing the story. Definitely stay with your pumpkin palette, but try and get different values in there. You know, the things that are in the foreground should be brighter or in shadow, and the things in the background should fade back somehow so that your elf is your point of view and your focus.
Okay, good.
Any
Patricia,
questions?
if you've got questions, type them in, and let's just keep going. Patricia, did you upload more? Did you have?
This is continuing.
Yes, this is more of her story.
Okay. Again, you don't have any design going on here. This row here is blocking your flow, and this row here is blocking your flow, and you have this person and this person and this person and this person and these 2 people and this person and these elves and these elves, and it's like, let's get some design work in here. Let's figure out what your story is, what you're trying to say, and figure out what is most important and focus on that. Because right now you've got a whole bunch of elements just thrown on the page, and it's sad because I think this could be a really good illustration if you figured out what you wanted to say.
So by giving emphasis to something, by making it something bigger, having a center of interest, is that what you're talking about, Wendy?
Yeah. I mean, because everything is the same weight, it's the same value, it's the same size. There really isn't any place for the eye to rest. There isn't any way for the eye to flow through the page.
Okay. So she can still have a crowd scene with a cast of thousands, but she needs to have a focus and a flow.
And once again, go back to the thumbnails and do black and white so that you can figure out the silhouettes. Mm-hmm. Because you're gonna want to group your group. Mm-hmm. and if the blonde girl chasing the boy in the blue shirt is your focus, you're gonna want the group focusing on that. So right now, the page is chaotic. And if you're going to be sticking with the color palette from back here, do so, because right now you've changed your color palettes. It's not the same color palette.
And Patricia's saying, okay, what you're saying makes sense.
Okay.
She has no questions. Yeah, and it is a chapter book. Diane made the comment, welcome to the Clumpers Club, me too. I think we all run into that problem from time to time.
Okay.
Okay, there's her little text.
Okay, this is somebody wants to be like Olivia. Okay, I think this is almost there. This is wonderfully done. But if you look at the Olivia books, the red that is used in the Olivia books is at the point of interest. You're using your red on the leaves and things that are supporting characters, as opposed to maybe the wolf is getting red in the face from blowing. You know, go back and look at your inspiration and see how the red is used. It's done with very pointed specificness. It's really, I mean, simplicity is hard. It's one of the hardest things to do. And again, if you are having this house blow down, I would make these sticks all scattered all over the place. And have your wolf more exaggerated. Maybe the pig could be blowing away. Really go with the story. You know, if he's blowing that house down and the pig's in the house, right now all you have blowing on the pig are his ears, and they're barely blowing. But what if the wolf is blowing so hard that the pig is blowing off of the page?
He's airborne, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, ask yourself, what if? But this is, it's getting there. It's really well done. You have flow. It's going across the page. You have your page turn going on. We understand what the story is, but if you want to do the Olivia type thing, you need to go back and really study how it's done. But great job on this.
Okay, Pip, if you got questions for Wendy, just type them in. If any of you guys want to work with Wendy on a continuing basis, I'll send her email address out to you in an email. I won't post it.
Okay, I love this one. I would love to see it done. But as you can see, what I'm talking about with the silhouette is you have the wolf silhouette here. You know it's a wolf, even though there's no details in there. And once again, go back to the story. I don't think that the brick house blew down. So it would be the straw house or the stick house.
Maybe that's a wood shingled house.
Yeah, it's not obvious. At this age group, you want to be obvious. And I love how the wind is blowing and the house is blowing. And
it's a tornado.
Yeah, and the pig is like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would be more careful to actually design this wind so it's going across the page and coming back into it so that the eye can follow it. Because right now it just sort of peters off right here in the upper left-hand corner. But really design this wind to come across the page and blow behind the pig back to the wolf or something. Because this is fun.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, have that house all falling apart in that wind, because that's a pretty strong wind. But good job on this.
This is a good example of black and white being so powerful in it by itself in the design, you know. This is what your thumbnails can do for you.
Yeah.
Laura, are you here? If you have comments or questions for Wendy, this is Laura's piece. Okay, Wendy, let me see some of these questions here. That was a fabulous critique, Wendy.
Thanks. I hope I was helpful to everybody.
That was extremely helpful, extremely pointed, and full of things we all got to. If we all did practice doing little thumbnail sketches every day, we'd get a lot more facility with how we are laying out our pages. So much stuff going on under the surface of these illustrations, these children's books that are published.
I can bring up an illustration that I just finished inking if people are interested.
Oh yeah, we are. And guys, if you again go ahead and type your questions in. We've got some minutes here with with Wendy. How'd you get through all that so fast, Wendy?
I critique a lot.
God, I go on for hours just blathering. So, okay, let's see what you got for us.
It's being finicky.
Okay.
I'm in the wrong folder. Okay, this is an image that I just finished inking for the Story Circle, which is the book that's coming out with Pinata. This is a 8.5 by 11 book. It's 11 by 17 spread. It's going to be down the center here is where the gutter is. There is going to be English text on one side and Spanish text on the other.
Okay.
And I'm paraphrasing, but I think it says when the children came back to school, they saw that there were no books in their classroom anymore.
Wow, and they're looking for him. Where did they go? Look how Wendy's got the flow going across the page. So we move and she takes us on a story. She takes us all the way across the spread, looking at all the
you can see what the story is, even though it's only line art. You can see what the story is. You can go across the page. Your eye has places to rest. There's room for the text, and each character has its own personality going on.
Mm-hmm, very much so.
So.
And they're all the same age. They're all we believe the kids. They're all in the same classroom. That's lovely. It's a lovely line. Do you like to do you like to make your sketches line art like this? And is that how you work out your drawings?
Let me see if I can find the sketch.
While you're doing that, I'm going to check for questions for you, Wendy.
Okay, this is the original sketch. I got edits from the publisher to change things.
Okay, hang on. I'm going back to look at it. So this was the original, so you have some gray tones in there.
So you can see the difference. This is after changes and approval.
Okay.
This is my original sketch.
You're working directly with the editor on these or the art director on these?
I don't know if it's an art director or an editor. Her job title is production manager.
Okay, she's probably doing the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, but it has to get approval from the publisher.
I'm just curious, what were they saying about the first one? What were they asking you to change?
Sorry. Okay, they wanted the eyes different on these characters. They wanted her hair different. They wanted glasses on him. They wanted him taller. They didn't understand what this shelf was. They wanted something on the wall instead.
Sometimes the comments are just very subjective, aren't they? And when that happens, do you just sort of roll with it, or what's your philosophy about taking editorial changes from authority figures?
They know more than I do. They're in the business of selling books. And I don't know how many books Pinata has put out, but it's something like 15 a year. Yeah. So they obviously have a lot more experience than I do.
A lot of award winners in there too.
I mean, unless there's something really specific that I feel strongly about, I just follow what they requested.
Okay. You don't take it personal.
No, I can't. I mean, it's a job.
Let's see. There was some. Diane said, "Yes, thank you so much, Wendy. Her gun is smoking from shooting straight." So that was a nice comment from Diane. And Nancy says, "Thanks, Wendy. Great information." Lisa says, "Bedtime here on the East Coast. Thanks for doing this, Wendy and Mark. Good night, y'all." Good. I think, guys, we're going to. If you have any questions for Wendy, this is the time to ask her. We're going to say goodnight to her in about 5 minutes. And Wendy, can I drive for a second? Let me share my screen and just pull up the sales page for the vector course. It seems like I'm always trying to sell stuff, but I think that's a good lesson for all artists. Artists are always trying to sell their work. We're always selling, so it's good for you to be exposed to sales pages and things. That's my thought. So hang on just 1 second. The big reason why I'm showing this page to you though is because there's an hour-long workshop, free workshop here right on the page where some of you saw this last year, a lot of you didn't, where Wendy's talking about Adobe Illustrator as a tool that's being used increasingly by children's book illustrators. You know, it used to be the graphic design software. It was used a lot for t-shirt designs, logo designs, but then Wendy and others started using it in more painterly ways, and she talks about that in this hour-long little intro tutorial. She shows us in this tutorial the brushes she uses, how she changes, how she brings the sketch into Photoshop and then brings it into Adobe Illustrator, and then uses some very specific brushes. I mean, you could go nuts studying all the tools in Adobe Illustrator. It's just like Photoshop. Wendy's found the few that work for her, and she teaches that. And at the end of the course last year, she said, I've taught you every tool that I use when I'm illustrating in Adobe Illustrator. So everything I know, you now know, and now you just need to practice what you know. Well, that's the course, but you can get an awful lot of that just from this hour-long workshop where she covers all the tools, like the with a graded mesh tool and or gradient mesh tool and the blob brush, and she shows us how they all work, and then she shows us the work in this workshop of other illustrators. All their work looks different. It's all being done in Adobe Illustrator, and it's real eye candy. It's very infectious, contagious. It's delightful to see what's being done now in Illustrator. And as she told us tonight, it's fast, and it's in demand by a lot of segments of the publishing industry. Cindy Wider has told us that Adobe Illustrator is also required a lot in the people that are licensing your art for products and merchandising and stuff like that. So in the licensing industry, art licensing, Adobe Illustrator is a preferred, vector art is the preferred medium. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Oh, you should use as many tools as you can to get your art to look the way you want it to look. And digital tools are just another kind of tool.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you work in watercolor, that's one media. If you work in oils, that's a different media. If you work digitally, all of the programs are different tools that you can use. So I choose to use Illustrator, but a lot of artists use Photoshop or Painter. Or there's another one that's really good, which is on the less expensive side, which is Manga Studio.
Manga Studio for comics.
But they have a new version out now, and I think it's under $100. But some people are doing amazing painterly stuff with it.
With Manga Studio, which is for comic art. Is that the comic art one or the animation?
Yeah, it's the comic art one.
Okay, I posted the link to that page with the video on it. For those of you who haven't seen that workshop yet, it's in the course. Actually, that video is part of the Marks and Splashes regular curriculum. But is it going to let me? Yeah, I think it's up there now. What was I was going to say something important. We've got a 33% off Valentine's Day sale. It'll be going until the 20th, so you can get the course that's normally $149 for about $100. And
it's 7 hours of video
and handouts and
you know, samples of what I've done, and basically I take you through creating a postcard from start to finish using Adobe Illustrator, and I focus on using the program as a children's book illustrator.
Yeah, so it's a whole new way of looking at Illustrator and seeing the work that's done. In that workshop, it's so interesting to see all the different art styles. And Wendy's style is beautiful and so painterly in Illustrator. It's it's really exciting. I've also see that kind of artwork in a lot of apps, or I see vector art a lot in the apps that my grandkids are playing with all the time, and it can make things look so luscious and so I don't know. Uh, it's a whole different visual mode. So, Wendy, let's see if there's any last minute questions for you. I'm going to check the watch page one more time. Oh, yeah, Diane took your course, Wendy, and she says your course was awesome. And everybody's saying
Thanks,
thank you.
Diane.
And Diane says, I'm actually doing a book now for an author with Illustrator, and her course helped me learn how to use it cohesively. Yeah, it's a real time saver. It'll get you up and running in those 7 hours with the basic tools. And yeah, maybe we can have Wendy on another time to give us another little hangout or workshop session on.
Well, I can do the 9 steps to make a picture book dummy.
Yeah, and we've had that in our regular course curriculum, a couple sessions that Wendy and I have done over the years on her book. That'll be fun, Wendy. Uh, I'm going to let Wendy get back to her deadlines and her work, and we're going to say goodnight. Wendy, thank you so much. That was fabulous.
Thank you for inviting me, Mark.
We
It's
all
always
learned.
a pleasure working with you.
It's always a pleasure working with you, and I love seeing your work. I love your blog. I encourage everybody to go and bookmark Wendy's blog and keep up with it, because you'll learn a lot from her. You can tell that she's a teacher as well as an artist. So I'm going to stop the broadcast and say goodnight to everybody. I'll put out Wendy's email, and I'll put out Wendy's email in my next email to you guys, in case any of you want to get in touch with her for any reason, and she can tell you what her 15-minute rate is. Artists need to be salespeople, and I'm going to hit that a lot this year. I was with E.B. Lewis during a school visit, and I watched him. He was doing the school presentations, but he was also selling prints to anybody who was within earshot, and he was making thousands of dollars that weekend just from his auxiliary marketing sales. It was quite an education. He was selling them to librarians, to SCBWI people, to people at the conference. He was always marketing, and I think it behooves us to. There's also a real good story in Atlantic Monthly about just that, how these days the artists are now having to become entrepreneurs of various kinds. So we'll be talking about that a lot in this year. And on February 26th, we've got Jeff Crosby coming to be the guest critiquer. Jeff is the author illustrator of Wiener Wolf and the Rockabilly Goat's Gruff, and he and his wife have illustrated many, many books. He also went to School of Visual Arts like Wendy did. So he's going to be our critiquer. More about that coming up. Wendy, I'll let you get back, and thank you again. Guys, thank you, and I'll end the broadcast. Okay, good night.
Bye, everybody.